Hi, my name is Emily DeSimone with the Garden State Film Festival, and here with me today I have Kerwin Webb and Andrew B. Sherwood with the film The Empty Cell, remembering Samuel Johnson. How are you both doing today?
Very well.
Very well, thank you.
So, Kerwin, you are the producer, and Andrew, you are the director of this documentary. Is there anything you would like to tell our live viewers about your film?
Well, this tells the story of Samuel Johnson, who is the victim of the only documented racial terror lynching in New Jersey history. It took place in Eatontown, New Jersey, in 1886, and we cover what happened in that story and sort of the aftermath and the efforts by some local activists to install a historical marker at the site.
So, was this recent that this historical marker was put in place? Is that what inspired you to make this documentary?
Yeah, I think Kerwin's been involved in that project longer than I have, and yeah.
So in 2019, we started a project with the Equal Justice Initiative, part of their Community Remembrance Project, where the organization documented over 4,000 lynchings in the United States. And what they've done is they've categorized and cataloged as many of the lynchings that they could document, and they would encourage community coalitions to claim their historical marker as a way to facilitate dialogue and conversations about the past that happened and how we as people living today could really change the trajectory of things that are going. And so as part of our project, we engaged with Andrew to create a documentary that sort of kind of recaps the different components of the Community Remembrance Project, which included a soil collection, a essay contest, and the historical marker installation. The marker was installed in June of last year. So it'll be a year old this coming June. But yeah, Andrew's documentary just kind of summarizes the different parts of the project.
And how did the two of you come together to make this documentary? How did you meet?
So I think Kerwin had the initial idea to do some kind of documentary project, and he mentioned that to the coalition that was working on it. And a friend of mine, Molly Walker, is an old family friend, was part of the group already, and she reached out to me and said, "Hey, this sounds like something you'd be interested in." And I came to the meetings and really wanted to get involved.
That's fantastic. So, how has, with the research and everything that you have done for this documentary, affected you as a director and a producer?
I think for me, one of the things that really drove home for me was that you think about lynching and racial violence and things like that is often a southern problem, something that happens in Alabama or Mississippi, and I think it's important for people to realize that no, this happened up here, this happened up north, and we are not innocent necessarily in the crimes against Black people that this country has seen, and it is important to acknowledge that that happened in our community, and we need to acknowledge it and heal from it as well.
Would you like to tell, since you've done so much research about this, would you like to tell our live viewers a bit about who Samuel Johnson was?
Kerwin, do you want to fill that in?
Yeah, so Samuel Johnson was he was born in Colts Neck. When he was a jockey, worked at Monmouth Race Park. He was a family man. I think he had 5 or 6 children, and so he was a normal, everyday person who was trying to live and provide for his family. And unfortunately, there was one day a young woman in Eatontown was sexually assaulted, and the way that the papers reported it was that the attacker asked her if she knew Mingo. And as a jockey at Monmouth Race Park, Samuel Johnson's nickname was Mingo Jack. And so with her mentioning, "Do you know Mingo?" that was enough for the sheriff and a mob of people to go to Samuel Johnson's home to arrest him. And he was thrown in the Eatontown lockup, where um, there were people in town that said they wouldn't be surprised if he was dead before midnight. And sure enough, late in the night of March 5th, 1886, Samuel Johnson was lynched in the jailhouse door in Eatontown.
It's very I never knew that, being in the state of New Jersey, just because you hear North and South, that
Yeah,
happened here, and it's heartbreaking to know that these things happened anywhere at all. But it is surprising to know that that did happen here in the state of New Jersey. So, Andrew, was this your first time directing? And if not, was it your first time directing a documentary?
I've directed a few fictional projects before, short films, things like that. This is my first time really doing a full-fledged documentary. I approached it, in a similar way where I'm trying to think out what's the story we're telling, who are the major characters. Of course, they're all real people, so we want to be sensitive to people's real story, and not just the people who are current today, living today, but also this is Samuel Johnson's story, and we want to be respectful of that as well. So it was a matter of collecting as much footage, talking to as many people as we could, and then sitting down with everything and looking for the through lines and the best way to tell the story.
And how did this experience help you as a director? Like, what do you think you learned in this that you can use moving forward if there were any obstacles and whatnot?
I think it really, and I've seen this on other projects I've worked on, but this really drove home to me the importance of, like, I can't do all of this myself. Like, this is a communal effort in one way or another, not just me having to run all the equipment, but also like this project, the essay contest, the soil collection, the historical marker, all of that was the work of dozens of people over many years, and it was really heartening to see what everyone was able to accomplish. And I think that's a really important takeaway, not just creatively in this project, but what we as a community can do when we all work together.
Mm-hmm. It is very often a team effort to make films and whatnot. So, Kerwin, for you and your production, your experience as a producer and whatnot, would you like to tell our viewers?
Yeah, what stands out to me about this work and this project is the timing in which we were going through it. So 2019 to 2022, and there's a lot of tension in the air around sensitive issues, and this is one of the most sensitive topics that you can deal with. And what was heartening to me is our coalition, which was diverse and different age brackets and spectrum, socioeconomic backgrounds, and we were able to really all look at the same issue and have humanity for each other, even while we had differences about how to approach or what ways to take. And it was really a project that it shows how, if we are really willing, we can work together to do almost anything. Because even in the midst of the racial climate that we were in, this group of Black, white, Jews, Protestants, Catholics, no faith at all, were able to say that this act is not something that we should stand by and accept. And so they wanted to be a part. So it was really a great human effort together.
Well, we all bleed the same color, so
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
absolutely, it's beautiful to have people, really come together and whatnot in that way, especially with different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, was this your first time producing a documentary?
This was my first time really trying to capture a lot of the work, in my day job and in other obligations that I have. I've done sort of kind of, coalition building or working together in teams, but this project, because of the subject matter, because of the uniqueness in the state of New Jersey, I wanted to make sure that we were able to capture not only the story of Samuel Johnson, but the work of this diverse coalition of people who are pushing back against the narrative that we cannot work together. And so while it was not my first time doing a coalition, it was actually the first time working with a filmmaker to kind of share a vision of what I imagined that it could be, and then just letting Andrew take his creative liberties to bring that to life.
And what is your like? What have you done in the past with producing? Because you have told us a lot about this specific project, but was this like your first time producing ever?
Yes, I think so. Right, Carmen?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you guys froze for a second. You both were so still. I was like, oh no. But so, when did you guys end up filming this documentary?
We were shooting for about a year. I think the first big thing we recorded was the soil collection. We had done a couple of interviews before then, and then we sort of scattered different shoots with different people throughout the next few months, and then we had the big shoot at the marker dedication, and I think there were a couple of interviews after that, and then we had all the footage and then it was a matter of putting it together.
Was this the reason I asked? Was this filmed at all during the COVID pandemic? Because I know you mentioned 2022.
Right. We started in 2021, I think. So we were very careful about when, especially doing interviews, making how many people are going to be there, making sure that do we have masks on? How do we handle that and make sure we don't have a big we're not exposing people to more risk than we need to.
Right.
I think there was one idea that I was thinking of doing a kind of roundtable discussion with some people, and I wanted to make sure we had that outside. I think we ended up not filming it, but that was something we were definitely thinking about. And I know when the coalition was having meetings, they started out in person, and then had to switch to being on Zoom and other virtual meeting spaces in order for the work to continue as they were moving forward with different parts of the project.
Okay. And so with that, when did you end up finishing your project?
We finished the I was ready to dive into the editing in September of last year, and I spent a good couple of months working with that and putting the finishing touches on.
Okay. And I mean, it's so nice to finally be out of the pandemic. I only ask because I have some people that filmed, very recently, and some people that did film height of the pandemic and whatnot. And so listening to everybody's different experience and whatnot. Do you guys have anything that you want people to take from this documentary when they watch it?
I think it's important to me to have people get a more clear picture of this place that we live in and what has happened here, and that there are stories that people may not have heard about. I'd never heard of Samuel Johnson until I had got involved with this, and I grew up in New Jersey. I took New Jersey history classes in school, and we never talked about this. And I hope that people take away from this that there's things that have happened a long time ago that are still relevant today, and that there's always worth stuff looking at if you dig under the surface a little bit.
And Kerwin, is there anything that you want, your viewers?
Yeah, I think it's just that when we would go out and do presentations, I would say that we're not rewriting history, we're telling a more complete history. And so what I hope people take away from this documentary, from this film, is that a lot of the behaviors and the patterns that allowed Samuel Johnson to be lynched can be found in our society today. And what it takes is for people to stand up, every individual person, to not allow it to happen. And that will help us to really change the trajectory that we're going in this country.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for everyone to see your documentary, and it will be screening, you guys, at the showroom on Saturday, March 25th from 12:15 to 2:15. Kerwin, Andrew, thank you so much for joining with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you there.
Thanks.